Watch your step, loser. The sneaker hooks around Sara Hart's ankle before she even sees it coming. 1 second she's pushing a cart stacked with canned soup down aisle 3, the next she's flying. Metal rattles, cans explode across the polished floor, and she hits the tiles hard on her knees and palms. The crash echoes through the grocery store. A couple of customers turn, look, then quickly pretend they didn't see. Laughter doesn't pretend. 3 teenagers in brand-name hoodies and spotless sneakers stand over her like they own the place. The ringleader, a tall boy with perfectly styled hair and a smug half-smile, already has his phone out, camera aimed right at her. Dong, she really ate it, he cackles. Guys, look at this. Broke cashier faceplants over soup, going live in 3, 2. Sara's cheeks burn. Her name tag, Sara, customer service, glints under the fluorescent lights as she tries to push herself up. Her knees scream. She can hear someone whisper, "Is she okay?" But nobody steps between her and the kids. "Please," she says, voice small but steady. "Turn the camera off. That's not funny." "Oh, it's hilarious," the girl in the group says, chewing gum, phone pointed too. "You should be thankful. You're gonna be famous on TikTok." Sara from Register 3. Behind them, her manager, Mr. Dwyer, appears at the end of the aisle. For a heartbeat, Sara thinks he'll finally do something. Instead, his eyes go not to the kids but to the scattered cans. "Sara," he snaps, exasperated, "we've talked about being more careful with stock. This is a mess." Her stomach drops. They tripped me. On purpose." The ringleader puts a hand to his chest, feigning shock. "Whoa, accusations. My dad's a lawyer, you know. You want to say that again, on camera?" He steps closer, the lens inches from her face as she kneels on the cold floor, hands shaking. Behind him, Sara sees the store's front windows. Out in the darkening parking lot, a brown mutt sitting in the back of a black pickup lifts his head, ears suddenly rigid. "Rusty." He can't hear the words, but he hears the tone, the sharp crack of humiliation in his human's voice. A low, barely audible growl rumbles in his chest as he presses his nose to the glass. Inside, the boy grins and hits record. "Smile for us, cashier girl." Sara's eyes fill not just from the pain in her knees but from something deeper. The exhaustion of double shifts, overdue rent, and a life where people like this walk in, wreck things, and walk back out. She reaches for the phone just to push it away. He jerks it back. "Touch my phone and you'll be the one getting fired." The girl laughs. "You think anyone's gonna believe you over us?" Outside, in the truck, Rusty stands up now, pawing at the window as a tall man in a gray hoodie and worn jeans walks back across the lot, grocery bag in one arm. He notices the dog's agitation, the way Rusty's hackles are up, eyes fixed on the store entrance. Luke Hart, off-duty SWAT officer, frowns. "What is it, boy?" Rusty whines, nose pressed hard to the glass, tail stiff, body quivering toward the light and the sound, and the sister he knows is inside. Luke follows his gaze. And in that moment, just before he reaches for the door handle, he hears Sara's voice faintly through the glass, cracked, pleading, and not like herself at all. "Please. Don't post that. I'm begging you." Luke's jaw tightens. He drops the grocery bag back into the truck bed and starts toward the sliding doors at a run. By the time Luke crosses the threshold, the kids have already switched masks. They're at the front registers now, laughing, joking, one of them tossing a candy bar onto Sara's belt like they're old friends. Sara's hands move on autopilot, scanning items, eyes red but dry now. She's hidden the tears, straightened her apron, forced the corners of her mouth into something almost like a smile. Luke feels Rusty before he sees him. The dog bolts past his legs as the doors hiss open, nails skittering on the grocery floor. He makes a beeline for lane 3, tail low, body angled protectively towards Sara. "Rusty." Sara blinks, startled, as the mutt presses himself against her shin. Luke steps into her line, grocery bag forgotten. "Hey, I thought you were off 10 minutes ago." The ringleader turns, eyes flicking over Luke's broad shoulders, the worn hoodie that hides the holster he's not supposed to be carrying off duty but always does. "Yo, is this your brother?" he asks, smirking. He looks mad. Rusty's growl vibrates against Sara's calf. Sara swallows. "Luke, I'm fine. Just customers." Luke's gaze slides from her scraped knuckles to the faint tremor in her hands, then to the kids. He doesn't miss the way one of them subtly angles his phone away, screen quickly darkening. "Something happen?" he asks, voice calm but edged. Her manager materializes like a bad commercial. "Luke, hey," Mr. Dwyer says, suddenly chummy. "Sara's just a little clumsy tonight, that's all. Had a spill in aisle 3. No harm done. We're busy." Rusty barks once, sharp. No harm done, Luke thinks, noticing the fresh bruise forming on Sara's knee beneath the hem of her khakis. He locks eyes with the ringleader. The kid holds the stare, but there's a flicker there, recognition of something in Luke that isn't a tired blue-collar brother. Something harder. Luke files the faces away. He's done this his entire adult life. Remember faces, read posture, log details. He still has the smell of blood and broken glass from his last SWAT call lingering at the edges of his mind. That night he'd been too slow. An innocent bystander had taken the bullet meant for a gang member. Luke still sees the man's wife in his nightmares. Not again, he thinks. But this is Sara. Which makes every rule about not mixing job and family buzz in the back of his skull like a hornet's nest. The teens pay in crumpled bills, snickering privately, and breezily walk out. The ringleader winks at Sara. See you online, Sara. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Her face drains. Luke waits until they're gone. What does he mean, online? Sara's voice is barely above a whisper. Nothing. It's nothing. Rusty whines, staring up at her like he knows she's lying. That night, sitting at the small kitchen table in their cramped apartment, Sara's phone buzzes for the 5th time in a row. She finally flips it over. There it is. Her own face frozen mid-fall, eyes wide, mouth open in shock, surrounded by mocking captions and laughing emojis. The video is up. Comments already pouring in. Her stomach twists. The front door opens. Luke steps in with Rusty at his heel, expression carved from stone. Sara, he says quietly, holding up his own phone. We need to talk about this video. He sets it down on the table. It's the same clip, only this time she sees the username that posted it. And the last name makes her blood run cold. If you want to know how this story ends, subscribe to the channel and don't miss the next chapters. Hartley. The username reads at Hartley Prime, written in neon letters over the clip of her falling. Sara stares at it like it might burn through the screen. Luke's eyes don't leave her face. Hartley. As in Councilman Hartley. As in the guy whose son keeps getting his record scrubbed clean. He sits across from her, forearms on the table. Rusty settles under Sara's chair, curled around her feet, like if he wraps tightly enough he can shield her from the entire internet. I didn't know who he was, she murmurs. He's just some kid who comes in with his friends, buys energy drinks, acts like he owns the place. That's because he kinda does, Luke says, voice low. His dad helped push the funding for the store's expansion. The chain loves him. The local PD? They're careful around him. Sara laughs once, humorless. So he gets to humiliate me and nothing happens. Luke's silence is its own answer. He thinks of the councilman's smirk at the last town hall, bragging about cleaning up real crime, while his son sped past in a brand new lifted truck, music blaring. Luke had bitten his tongue then. He can feel it bleeding again now. The next day, Sara goes back to work because she has no choice. Rent doesn't care about humiliation. Her coworker, Jenna, gives her a sympathetic look at the time clock. Don't read the comments, Jenna whispers. People are jerks. Too late. As Sara rings up groceries, she feels eyes lingering a little too long. A couple of kids snicker, phones out, whispering. Mr. Dwyer calls her into his cramped office on break. There's been chatter, he says, gesturing to a printed screenshot of the video, as if she hasn't already seen it 100 times. The corporate office hates this kind of attention. I had to tell them you're not a problem. I'm the one who got tripped, she says, incredulous. He shrugs. The Hartleys are important to this town. And to our bottom line. A new kind of fear creeps in. Am I getting fired? Not yet. He slides a paper toward her. But corporate wants us to document. This is a written warning for, unsafe handling of merchandise. She stares at the form. Her chest squeezes. Outside that night, Luke and Rusty wait in the truck, shadows stretching long in the sodium vapor light. Rusty's nose is stuck out the open window, sucking in smells. The teens arrive like they're making an entrance, music thumping from the truck, laughter too loud. Luke recognizes the ringleader immediately, Tyler Hartley. Same smirk as in the video. Same swagger Luke's seen before, walking out of the station without so much as a slap on the wrist. Rusty stiffens, ears pricking. Luke's fingers drum on the steering wheel. He's off duty. This isn't his jurisdiction. He can't just walk in there as SWAT Officer Luke Hart, big brother with a badge. But he can watch. From his angle, he sees Tyler and his friends at Sara's lane again. Sees the way Tyler slides a candy bar past the scanner without Sara noticing, tucking it into his pocket. Heat rises in Luke's chest as he watches him palm a 50, then slip a crumpled 10 onto the counter. That's all I gave you. Tyler lies smoothly when Sara pauses, confused. You trying to rip me off or something? Mr. Dwyer swoops in. What's going on? Your cashier just tried to overcharge me, Tyler says, loud enough for customers to hear. Again. Luke's hand curls into a fist around the steering wheel. Sara's protesting lips form the words, I didn't. But Mr. Dwyer is already apologizing to Tyler. Luke sees it, the perfect setup. Make her look incompetent. Make her look dishonest. By the time Sara steps out into the night, face pale, Luke has already messaged a buddy in patrol to pull any incident reports involving Tyler. Rusty presses against Sara as she opens the passenger door, tail wagging softly, trying to comfort. They're setting me up, Luke, she says, voice shaking. And Mr. Dwyer? He believes them. 2 days later, the trap springs. Sara is mid-shift when Mr. Dwyer approaches with a grim set to his mouth. Behind him, a uniformed officer from the local PD stands awkwardly. Sara, Mr. Dwyer says, unable to meet her eyes, there's been a discrepancy in your register. A large one. The officer clears his throat. Ma'am, we're gonna need you to come down to the station to answer some questions about missing cash. Every head in the store turns toward her. Her hands go numb around the scanner. Behind the one-way glass of the front doors in the parking lot, Rusty's bark explodes into the air as Luke slams his palm against the truck dashboard. They're not just humiliating her now. They're trying to destroy her life. The break room chair is cold, metal pressing into the back of Sara's knees as the officer gently but firmly closes the door. I'm not under arrest, she repeats, voice thin. You said I'm not under arrest. That's right, the young cop, Officer Daniels, his badge says, assures her. We just want to ask some questions. Money went missing from your register on 3 different nights this week. You were the one on that lane each time. I didn't take anything, she insists. Check the cameras. Daniels shifts, uncomfortable. We did. He sets a tablet on the table, taps the screen. Grainy security footage plays. Sara counting out a drawer, tucking bills into envelopes, placing them in the drop safe. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then the angle changes, narrower, conveniently cutting off the front of the register. A figure steps just barely into frame. A hoodie, a hand. Bills disappear. All the viewer can really see is that it happens on her lane during her shift. It's not clear, Sara whispers. You can't even see who that is. Daniels looks troubled. No, ma'am. But corporate filed a report. And the complainant? He hesitates. Let me guess. A voice cuts in from the doorway. The Hartleys. Luke fills the frame, still in jeans and his gray hoodie, but now his SWAT badge is clipped openly at his belt. Rusty sits obediently at his heel, brown eyes locked on Sara. Daniels blinks. Sir, this is a local PD matter. SWAT isn't. I'm here as her brother, Luke says evenly. And as someone who's been on enough scenes to know when a video's been conveniently edited. He strides to the table, eyes flicking over the footage, noting the jagged edges where time skips. The way the image quality drops just as the mystery hand appears. This looks like it's been messed with, he says. You have the raw files, not just corporate's upload, right? Daniels hesitates. Luke feels that old fury licking at his nerves. The same fury he'd felt when a gas station clerk was framed for a robbery by a gang that had half the town scared into silence. He'd been too late to save that guy from prison time. He is not letting Sara be anyone's scapegoat. It's not my case, Daniels admits. Detective Monroe is handling it. I was just told to bring her in and show her the complaint. Sara stares at the table, heart pounding in her ears. Am I going to lose my job? Not if I can help it, Luke says. He meets Daniel's eyes. Off the record, do you really think this girl? He nods at Sara, who still wears discount sneakers and an apron with a coffee stain on the hem, is running some elaborate theft ring for grocery store cash? Or is it more likely that a councilman's son with a history of pranks found a new way to entertain himself? Daniel's lips press together. Rusty stands pacing a slow circle, nose twitching. He bumps his head against Luke's leg, like he can feel the storm building inside him. Daniel sighs. Look, between you and me, Monroe isn't thrilled about taking on anything with the Hartley name attached. But there have been complaints. Other businesses. Kids that match this group's description. Then we start there, Luke says. We map out everywhere they've been on nights Sara worked. Every prank they've pulled. Every camera within 100 feet. Sara looks up, hope warring with exhaustion. But you said you can't get involved. Conflict of interest. I can't be lead on a case where my sister's a suspect, Luke replies. But nothing's stopping me from handing Monroe a file so complete he'd have to be blind not to see what's really happening. There's a part of him that whispers he's just trying to make up for the people he couldn't save before. The hostage who panicked. The rookie who froze. The clerk who served 18 months before someone finally cared enough to dig deeper. He pushes that voice down and stands. Come on, Sara. You're not saying another word without a lawyer. And I'm going to have a little chat with Councilman Hartley's golden boy. Daniel's eyes widen. Sir, I really don't think. But Luke's already at the door, Rusty glued to his side. Don't worry, Luke says, a calm smile that doesn't reach his eyes. I'm off duty. He pauses, hand on the knob, and looks back at Sara. Just, trust me, okay? She nods, but as the door swings shut behind him, the weight of the word, suspect, hangs in the air like a storm cloud. And somewhere across town, in a glittering kitchen that smells like expensive cologne and entitlement, Tyler Hartley is laughing about how easy it is to turn a town against a grocery store cashier. He has no idea the man walking toward his world is the same one who kicks down doors for a living. Tyler's kingdom is the strip mall parking lot on Friday night. Trucks idle in crooked lines, bass pounding, fast food wrappers tumbling like tumbleweeds in the breeze. The neon glow from the burger joint paints everyone the same sickly blue-red, regardless of the brands on their hoodies. Luke sits in his black pickup on the edge of it all, engine off, lights down. Rusty lies on the passenger seat, chin on the window frame, watching. Eyes up, buddy, Luke murmurs. Find our guy. Rusty's nose twitches. There, near the center by the lifted white truck with custom rims, Tyler Hartley laughs loud enough to slice through the noise. Rusty's ears perk. He's heard that voice before, attached to the scent that made Sara's whole body tighten with fear. Luke's jaw clenches. He'd already done his homework. A quick call to a friend in traffic. Speeding, reckless driving, accidental mailbox collisions. Another to an old contact at the high school, bullying complaints that mysteriously went nowhere. A quiet word with Detective Monroe, who'd sounded tired and beaten down but had agreed to take a look at Luke's notes. Now he watches Tyler hold court, phone out, showing his friends something that makes them howl with laughter. Luke doesn't have to see the screen to know what it is. Sara on loop, falling again and again. One of the boys, shorter, nervous, glances around. Dude, you sure she's not gonna, sue or something? My mom says stealing is a real crime, even if it's just cash. Tyler scoffs. Relax, Evan. My dad says people like her are lucky we even shop there. She should be paying us. The girl snaps her gum. So what's the big plan for tonight, Ty? Another cashier challenge? Tyler's smile is knife sharp. Bigger. We're gonna do a hero flip. Make her look like she caught us stealing, then prove she staged the whole thing. Get her fired on live stream. Maybe toss in a little scare for that old dude who bags groceries. People love when seniors fall. Luke feels Rusty tense, a low growl starting in the dog's chest. He hears it too, faint, half-joking, but there, got the knife, one of the kids mutters. Just in case that SWAT brother of hers shows up. Tyler's eyes glitter. Yeah, let him. He touches me, he's done. Dad will have his badge before sunrise. Luke's fingers curl against his thighs. He's been shot at, stabbed at, cursed at. He's walked into houses where people never walked back out. But something about a bunch of bored rich kids talking casually about making an old man fall for a live stream makes his vision narrow. He pulls out his phone, hits record on the voice memo, and lets it sit on the console, capturing every word. Rusty suddenly lifts his head higher, sniffing. His paws dance on the seat. He scratches once at the door. What is it, boy? The dog whines, eyes locked not on Tyler now but on the white truck's open tailgate. Luke follows his gaze. Inside, half buried under hoodies and a baseball bat, is a cardboard box. From this distance he can't see inside it, but he recognizes the logo stamped on the side. The grocery store's logo. These idiots, he mutters. They're already stealing. He snaps a few photos with his phone, zooming in, documenting everything. Then Tyler says the line that finally blows the last fuse in Luke's restraint. Either way, Tyler drawls, by tomorrow, everyone's gonna believe she's a thief. And when my dad's done, she'll never work in this town again. His friends cheer. Luke doesn't move. Not yet. Emotions get people killed on his team. He's learned to let anger freeze into something useful, something precise. He inhales slowly, feeling Rusty's warm weight against his arm. Change of plan, he whispers to the dog. We're not just proving Sara's innocent anymore. Out on the asphalt, Tyler hops into the driver's seat of his truck, revving the engine. Let's go make a cashier famous, he shouts. Engines roar to life. And as the mini convoy peels out toward the grocery store, tires screeching, Rusty lets out one sharp bark, half warning, half battle cry, as Luke cranks his own engine and follows at a distance. The kids think this is just another cruel prank. They don't realize they're driving straight into a trap that a SWAT officer and his rescue mutt are about to spring around them. The grocery store is too bright for how late it is. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, reflecting off waxed linoleum. Sara's on lane 3 again, scanning items with the mechanical beep-beep that's starting to sound like a countdown. Every time the doors hiss open, her heart jumps. Rusty lies at Luke's feet near the customer service counter, service vest on, officially in training. Unofficially, he's the only reason Sara's hands don't shake off the scanner. Luke stands nearby, pretending to compare brands of cereal, eyes never really leaving her. His phone buzzes. A text from Detective Monroe. Outside. 2 units in the lot. I'll come in when you give the word. Luke slides the phone back into his pocket and exhales. Then the air changes. Engines rumble into the lot. Even through the glass, Luke recognizes the sound of Tyler's truck before he sees it. The kids stride in like they're walking onto a stage, laughter already too loud, camera already rolling. Tyler spots Sara and grins. There she is. Internet royalty. Rusty's head lifts, a low growl starting deep in his chest. Luke murmurs, "Easy boy. Not yet. Tonight everything has to be seen. Documented. The trap only works if the rats run into it on their own." Tyler starts small. He accidentally knocks a display of gum onto the floor, making Sara kneel to clean it up. His friend slides a candy bar into his sleeve while pretending to help. The girl circles with her phone, catching every angle of Sara on her knees. "Careful, Sara," Tyler says loudly. "Wouldn't want people thinking you're stealing again." Luke's jaw tightens. He taps his phone once, recording video now. From his angle, he can see Tyler's fingers, the sleight of hand, the planted $10 bill that will go missing later. But Tyler's plan is bigger. "Hey," he calls to Sara, lowering his voice just enough to sound fake friendly. "Manager wants you in the back. Something about your drawer." Her stomach dips. "Right now? I still have." "I'll cover your lane," Jenna offers, nervous eyes darting to Tyler. "Go." It's probably nothing. Mr. Dwyer appears at the end of the lane, wringing his hands. "Sara, can I see you in the office?" The timing is too perfect. Luke feels the hairs on his neck stand up. He nods once at Rusty. "Stay." Then he drifts down an adjacent aisle, keeping Sara in sight as she follows Dwyer toward the back. Tyler and his friends peel off too, pretending to browse. As soon as Sara and Dwyer disappear into the hallway, Tyler jerks his head. 2 of the kids slip through the employees-only door after them. Luke quickens his pace, ducking behind a pallet of paper towels near the stockroom corridor. He hears voices ahead. "I'm not stealing from you," Sara says, frustration cracking through. "I've done everything right, Mr. Dwyer." "It's out of my hands," Dwyer mutters. "Corporate is breathing down my neck. If there's another discrepancy." A new voice cuts in, smug and oily. "Maybe I can help clear it up." "Tyler." Luke edges closer, Rusty now crawling behind him, stubbornly ignoring the stay command. The dog's nose flares. He knows that scent, that threat. "Wow, Mr. Dwyer," Tyler says. "You sure this is the kind of employee you want representing the store? Stealing cash, faking trips for sympathy." "I didn't fake anything." Sara snaps. "Then what's this?" The girl's voice pipes up. "Check her locker maybe? Or her bag. I bet you find the missing money." Luke's hand finds the doorknob, muscles coiled. Not yet, he tells himself. Let them say it. Let them hang themselves with their own words. Inside the narrow stockroom, shifting shadows. Boxes, metal shelves, the looming bulk of a humming fridge. Sara stands by the desk, Dwyer near the file cabinet, Tyler and his crew blocking the only exit. Tyler flashes his phone to the camera his friend's holding. "We're here live with our favorite thief cashier," he announces. "Let's see what we find, folks." "Turn that off," Sara says, voice shaking. He steps closer. "Or what? You gonna hit me? My dad would love that." Rusty's growl becomes a rumble. Tyler leans in, dropping the nice kid mask. "Here's how this goes, Sara. You cry for the camera, admit you made up the whole thing, say you're sorry for accusing me. Maybe I tell my dad to make this disappear. And if I don't," she whispers. His smile thins. "Then we make sure everyone sees what happens to liars." His hand dips into his hoodie pocket. When it comes out, Luke sees the glint even from the doorway, a small folding knife, blade snapping open with a soft, horrifying click. Rusty lunges forward, claws scrambling for purchase as Luke shoves the door open. Tyler. Luke's voice slams into the room like a flashbang. Drop it. Now. Every head whips toward him. The camera stays rolling. And Tyler's eyes, wide for a heartbeat, quickly harden into something uglier as he adjusts his grip on the knife and takes a step towards Sara instead of away. Time narrows. Luke's training shoves everything into sharp focus. The angle of the knife, the tremor in Sara's shoulders, the way Tyler's feet are placed, too close, too cocky. Knife on the ground, hands where I can see them, Luke says, voice dropping into the command tone that's ended standoffs and saved lives. Tyler snorts. What, you gonna shoot me? You're not even in uniform, man. The friend with the phone backs up, making sure the shot includes Luke, the knife, and Sara all in one frame. Dude, this is gold, he whispers. Rusty plants himself between Sara and Tyler, teeth bared, fur bristling. A deep, warning bark explodes from his chest, echoing off metal shelves. Call your dog off, Tyler snaps, flicking the knife in Rusty's direction. Take one more step toward my sister, and you'll wish the only thing you had to worry about was a dog, Luke says. Last chance, Tyler. Drop it. Or what? Tyler smirks. You'll assault a minor on camera? My dad will bury you. Everyone already thinks your sister's a thief. Imagine what they'll say when they see you waving a gun around in a grocery store. Luke's hand hovers near his concealed holster, but he doesn't draw. Sirens wail faintly in the distance. Monroe's units moving in. He just needs to keep everyone breathing until then. Tyler, this is over, Luke says. I've got your whole conversation in the parking lot recorded. Your plan to frame her. The threats. The knife. You think some edited clip is going to beat that in court? For the first time, Tyler's confidence flickers. Then he doubles down. Screw this, he spits, grabbing a nearby cash drop envelope off the desk and shoving it at Sara. You want your thief? There she is. He lunges forward, closing the distance, intent on stuffing the envelope into her apron pocket for the camera. Rusty moves first. He launches, jaws clamping down, not on flesh but on Tyler's wrist. The knife clatters to the floor as Tyler yells, stumbling back. Luke is there in a heartbeat, boot pinning the knife, hand snapping Tyler's arm behind his back in a textbook control hold. Get off me. Tyler screams. He let his dog attack me. He's crazy. Are you getting this? He shouts to his friend. Oh, I'm getting it, a new voice answers. Detective Monroe fills the doorway, gun drawn but pointed at the ground, two uniformed officers behind him. Their cruiser lights strobe red and blue through the small rectangle window. Monroe takes in the scene in a blink. Knife on the floor, Rusty growling but not biting now, Luke holding Tyler, Sara pressed against the wall, white-faced. Everybody stay exactly where you are, Monroe orders. Phone's on the ground. Now. The girl opens her mouth to protest. His gaze cuts to her heart. You're live streaming an armed intimidation of an employee. But the phone. Down. Slowly she does. Tyler twists, trying to wrench free. You don't get it, he pants. Do you know who my dad is? Monroe's expression doesn't change. Yeah, I've met him. A lot. Knife plus premeditated plan to plant evidence? I don't care if you're the mayor's kid. He nods at Luke. You good? Fine, Luke replies. Only his eyes betray the adrenaline, still sharp as glass. He went for her with the knife. Rusty disarmed him. Rusty, hearing his name, lets out a short, proud bark, tail wagging once before his posture drops back into alert. Sara finally finds her voice. He said I had to admit I lied. Or they were going to make sure everyone believed I was a thief. Dwyer edges out from behind a shelf, eyes so wide they almost shine. I didn't know about any of this. I thought it was, corporate said. Corporate doesn't tell you to look the other way on a weapon, Monroe says. He gestures to the officers. Cuff him. The metal clicks around Tyler's wrists. His bravado cracks. You can't do this, he yells, voice climbing. Dad's on his way. He'll shut you down, you hear me? As if conjured by the words, another voice cuts through the back hallway, booming with practiced authority. What the hell is going on here? Councilman Hartley strides into view, expensive overcoat flaring, fury in every step. His gaze zeroes in on his son in cuffs, then on Luke's badge gleaming in the harsh light. You, Hartley says, pointing at Luke like a loaded gun. I warned the chief about you. You lay a hand on my boy and your SWAT cowboy days are over. He turns to Monroe. Take those cuffs off him. Right now. You're making a huge mistake, detective. Monroe doesn't move. For a few seconds the entire room holds its breath, Corporate fear, political power, union nerves, all compressed into one fluorescent-lit stockroom. Hartley smiles thinly, sensing weakness. Or maybe you'd like to explain to the town why you chose to ruin a promising young man's life over the word of a cashier and a dog. The absurdity of it would be funny if Sarah's whole world weren't hanging in the balance. Luke looks from Hartley to Monroe, to the officers shifting uneasily. He realizes with a sinking feeling that catching the bullies in the act might not be enough. Not if the system that's supposed to deliver justice is already afraid of the man standing in the doorway. The store's tiny office has never felt so crowded. Monroe leans against the filing cabinet, arms folded, while Hartley paces like a caged animal. Tyler sits in a metal chair, cuffs now in front instead of behind, lip jutting, eyes wet with a mix of anger and fear. Sara hovers near the wall beside Jenna, who refuses to leave her side. Luke stands with Rusty at his heel, phone in hand. "Let me be very clear," Hartley says, voice silky with barely contained rage. "My son is the victim here. He was attacked by an off-duty cop and a dog inside a place of business. Your so-called evidence is a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by a man with a grudge." Monroe raises an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding where your son brought a knife and tried to force a young woman to confess to a crime she didn't commit? There's no proof of that," Hartley fires back. "Just the word of people who already decided he's guilty." Luke taps his screen. "There's more than their word." He hits play. The office fills with the tinny sound of Tyler's laughter from the parking lot. "By tomorrow, everyone's gonna believe she's a thief. And when my dad's done, she'll never work in this town again." Then the hero flip plan, the talk of the knife, the casual cruelty about making an old bagger fall. Jenna's hand flies to her mouth. Mr. Dwyer, standing in the doorway, goes pale. Hartley's complexion darkens, but he keeps his chin high. "Boys talk big," he says. "That doesn't mean they do anything. If anything, this proves my point. This officer targeted my son, spied on him, lured him here." Rusty lets out a disbelieving huff, like even he can't accept the mental gymnastics. Monroe glances at Luke. "Photos." Luke swipes, showing the shots of the grocery logo box in Tyler's truck, the glimpse of cash envelopes inside. "You've got enough for a warrant," he says. "Stolen goods, possible evidence tampering." Hartley's smile turns brittle. "You'd really drag this town through a media circus over some pocket change and a joke gone wrong? Tell that to the people whose livelihoods you were playing with," Monroe replies. "To Sara facing charges. To every business that filed a complaint and watched it disappear because your name was on the letterhead." Dwyer clears his throat. His voice shakes. "Detective. I remember a few times Tyler and his friends caused trouble here. We were encouraged to let it go." "Encouraged by who?" Monroe asks. Dwyer's eyes flick nervously toward Hartley, then down. "Corporate. And I got a call once. From the councilman's office. After I tried to ban Tyler from the store." The room falls silent. Hartley steps closer to Monroe, dropping his voice to something meant to be reasonable. "Look, Monroe. You and I both know this town doesn't need a scandal. I can make a lot of this go away. The missing money, the video, the overzealous behavior of Officer Hart here. We can handle this privately. My boy does some volunteer work, everyone moves on." Sarah's chest tightens. Private deals. Secrets. The exact kind of thing that keeps people like her at the bottom. Luke feels something hot rise in his throat. "So he walks," he says. "He gets to laugh about this at college while my sister spends the rest of her life being that cashier who almost went to jail." Hartley snaps, mask slipping. "Your sister is a nobody. My son has a future. I won't let you ruin that because you can't let go of some failed hero complex." The words hit closer than Hartley knows. Luke's mind flashes, unbidden, to another night, barricaded door, panicked hostages, the crack of a rifle. The face of the man he didn't save. Rusty nudges his leg as if pulling him back to the present. Monroe straightens, eyes suddenly very clear. "Councilman Hartley," he says, voice formal, "I'm going to advise you to stop talking. Because right now you're edging into obstruction and intimidation of an officer." "You wouldn't dare." "I would," Monroe cuts in. "I'm tired, Hartley. Tired of your complaints about rowdy youth, one day, and your calls demanding we erase your son's file the next." He nods to one of the uniforms. "Get a warrant for that truck. If we find so much as a candy bar in there without a receipt, he's getting booked. And so is anyone else involved." Hartley's eyes flash, but he sees something in Monroe's face that gives him pause. The old dynamic has shifted. The room is not with him anymore. Minutes later, the report comes in over the radio. multiple envelopes of store cash still banded in the box. Several items matching recent loss reports from other shops in the strip mall. Monroe looks at Tyler. You're under arrest for theft, attempted fraud, and attempted coercion. More charges may follow. Tyler's bravado crumbles. Dad. Hartley reaches for him, but Monroe steps between them. Don't, the detective warns. You touch him or interfere with this arrest, and I add resisting and obstruction to the list. Hartley stares at Luke, seething. You just declared war on the wrong family. Luke meets his gaze, something calm and almost sad in his eyes. No, he says. You declared war on people who can't fight back. I'm just evening the odds. As Tyler is let out, cameras in the store, phones now firmly in police hands, have captured everything. The knife, the threats, the arrest. For the first time, the narrative isn't controlled by the Hartleys. But when the dust settles and the last cruiser pulls away, Mr. Dwyer clears his throat. Sara, he says, not meeting her eyes. Corporate called. They still want you off the schedule until this blows over. Maybe longer. With all this attention, they think it's better if we distance the brand. The words slam into her harder than any fall. So even after all that, she says, voice hollow, I still lose my job. Dwyer flinches. It's complicated. Luke feels something inside him go very, very cold. If the law could be bent, so could public opinion. If the system wouldn't protect Sara's dignity, maybe the people watching their screens at home would. He looks down at Rusty, who watches him with steady brown eyes. Okay, Luke murmurs. If they're going to play this online. He lifts his phone. Then we're going to beat them at their own game. The video goes up at 2:17 a.m. Luke sits at the kitchen table, laptop open, Rusty snoring lightly at his feet, Sara curled on the couch in an oversized hoodie, staring at nothing. The apartment is washed in the blue light of the screen. Are you sure about this? She asks, voice ragged from crying. Putting my face out there even more? He swivels the laptop toward her. Pauses on a frame. Tyler brandishing the knife, Rusty mid-lunge, Monroe coming through the door. You're already out there, Luke says gently. Right now the story is, clumsy cashier falls and, suspected thief. We need people to see the whole thing. He's woven together the parking lot audio, the stockroom footage Monroe agreed to release, the arrest and statements from Jenna and the elderly bagger, Mr. Harrison. No music, no fancy edits. Just truth. At the end, Luke speaks directly to the camera, badge visible. I've kicked down doors in this town to protect strangers, he says. I never thought I'd have to do it in a grocery store to protect my own sister from being turned into a joke by people who think they're untouchable. If you've ever worked a job like hers, late hours, low pay, the customer is always right, this is for you. He looks tired and that matters. Makes it real. Sara watches her own face on screen. The fall, the humiliation, the terror in the stockroom. She flinches but she doesn't look away. Post it, she whispers. By morning, the views have climbed into the hundreds of thousands. By noon it's millions. Hashtags trend, hashtag justice for Sara, hashtag Hartley accountability, hashtag protect workers not bullies. People film themselves telling stories of their own humiliations in customer service jobs. A barista who had hot coffee thrown at her. A gas station clerk threatened over lottery tickets. A waitress stiffed on a $200 bill. Local news picks it up first, then regional outlets. A national talk show host retweets the clip of Rusty disarming Tyler with the caption, "Give this dog a medal." Councilman Hartley releases a statement calling it a one-sided smear campaign and decrying cancel culture. It doesn't go over well. More complaints surface. A mechanic posts security footage of Tyler and his friends keying a car. A diner owner shares old emails where Hartley pressured him not to press charges after Tyler skipped out on a bill. Detective Monroe, careful and by the book, holds a press conference outside the station. He confirms the charges, emphasizes that no one is above the law, and pointedly thanks the brave employees who finally came forward. On the couch, Sara clutches Rusty's collar, overwhelmed. I don't know how to feel, she admits. Part of me is glad people see it. Part of me just wants to crawl into a hole. Luke squeezes her shoulder. You shouldn't have to be brave in front of millions just to keep your name clean. The grocery chain's corporate account, bombarded with angry comments and calls for a boycott, finally issues a carefully worded apology to all employees who felt unsupported. It names Sara directly, says she is no longer under investigation. It doesn't mention the firing. At least, not until the protests start. Customers show up at the store wearing handmade stickers. I'm with the cashier. Some bring signs. A few refuse to shop there until Sara is reinstated. Mr. Harrison, the bagger, speaks to a local reporter about how she's the hardest worker I've ever seen, and no kid with a smartphone should be allowed to take that away. Still, Mr. Dwyer calls that night, voice small and apologetic. They're offering you your job back, he says. Same position. Same pay. No back pay for missed hours. Sara laughs, a sharp, bitter sound. So, nothing's really changed. Luke feels the old helplessness surge, but now it's mixed with something else. Momentum. What if we don't take their table scraps? He says. The next week, the town council chambers are packed beyond capacity. Cameras line the back wall. On the agenda, a public comment period about community trust, policing, and workplace safety. Hartley sits at the elevated dais, face tight, pretending not to notice the posters in the audience with screenshots of his son. Tyler is absent. His lawyer advised him to stay home. Sara sits in the second row, Rusty at her feet in his vest, Luke beside her. Monroe stands near the wall, arms folded, nodding slightly when their eyes meet. Next speaker, the council chair announces. Sara Hart. The room rustles as she stands. Her legs feel like they're made of sand. The walk to the microphone might as well be a mile. Camera lights flare, phone screens tilt toward her. Rusty presses against her calf, a warm, steady weight. She grips the podium. Hi, she says, voice catching on the first word. She clears her throat. My name is Sara. I'm the grocery store cashier from the video you've probably seen more times than I want to think about. Soft laughter ripples through the room, sympathetic. I'm not here to talk about views, she continues. I'm here because for weeks, my life was almost destroyed. Not because I did something wrong, but because the wrong people thought they'd never face consequences. She glances up at the dais. Hartley's jaw ticks. Luke's heart hammers. What I say next, Sara thinks, could change everything for us. She inhales, looks at Rusty's trusting eyes, and lifts her chin to keep speaking, directly to the kind of power that usually never has to listen to people like her. My brother kicks down doors for a living, Sara says, voice growing steadier with each word. But I'm the one who got dragged through the mud because I didn't have the right last name. A murmur ripples through the crowd. I work late, she continues. I smile when people yell at me about coupons I didn't make. I stock shelves until my back aches, because rent is due whether customers are kind or not. You know how many people saw those kids trip me? A lot. You know how many stepped in to help before my brother got there? She holds up a hand in a zero. Rusty shifts, letting out a quiet chuff as if agreeing. That's what scared me the most, she says. Not just the fall. Not just the video. But how easy it was for everyone to watch and then look away. She turns slightly, addressing the row of officials. Councilman Hartley, your son told his friends my life was a joke. That people like me should be grateful you even shop where we work. He tried to frame me. He pulled a knife on me. And your first instinct wasn't to ask if I was okay. It was to save him from consequences, again. Hartley leans forward, microphone on. Miss Hart, with all due respect. No, she says quietly, surprising herself. You don't get to say, with all due respect, after calling me a nobody in that office. I heard you. Gasp. Head swivel toward Hartley. His face drains of color. Sara breathes in, trembling, but she doesn't stop. There are a lot of nobodies in this town, sir. The baggers, the cashiers, the janitors, the delivery drivers. We keep things running while people like your son film us falling. We can't call in favors to make our mistakes disappear. We don't have the luxury of boys will be boys. Applause breaks out, scattered at first, then swelling. Luke watches, chest tight, pride and protectiveness warring behind his ribs. Monroe's lips twitch into the ghost of a smile. I'm not asking for a medal, Sara finishes, voice thick. I'm asking for basic respect. For everyone who has ever had to swallow their pride because a customer might complain. For people who can't afford to lose a job over a rich kid's entertainment. She steps back from the mic, heart pounding, tears finally spilling over. The council chair has to bang the gavel to quiet the clapping. Monroe speaks next during the official portion. He lays out the charges against Tyler, the past complaints, the pattern of interference. He recommends an independent ethics investigation into Hartley's conduct. A representative from the grocery chain, slick in a tailored suit, takes the mic and offers a more substantial apology. Public acknowledgement of mishandling, commitment to retraining managers, and finally, a direct offer. We would like to invite Ms. Hart to return, he says, not as a cashier, but as a loss prevention and employee safety coordinator for our region. With a raise, back pay and benefits. She clearly has the courage and integrity we want representing our company. Gasps again, this time with surprise. Sara glances at Luke. His eyebrows lift, impressed, but he doesn't answer for her. She considers the offer, the long hours, the fluorescent lights, and the chance to actually change something for people like her. "I'll accept," she says slowly, "on one condition." The rep blinks. "Which is?" "That we set up a fund," she replies, "for employees who face harassment or retaliation. Legal support. Counseling. Whatever they need so they don't have to go through what I did alone." A beat. Then, under pressure from cameras and an applauding audience, the rep nods. "We can discuss the details. But yes." Agreed. Hartley watches, powerless, as the narrative he used to control slides completely out of his hands. Within days he steps down from the town's ethics committee, pending investigation. Talk begins of a recall. The state attorney's office opens a formal inquiry into his past interventions. Tyler accepts a plea deal: probation, community service, mandatory restitution, and, in the most poetic twist of all, a court-ordered program working with at-risk youth and at the very grocery chain he tried to weaponize. On his first day of community service, broom in hand, he passes Rusty, now wearing an official store support dog bandana. The mutt looks up at him, tilts his head, and lets out a single, unimpressed woof. Luke laughs, standing nearby, arms crossed. Sara walks the aisles now not as a target, but as the one checking on cameras, quietly intervening when customers get too loud with employees. Word has spread: this store protects its people. One evening, after close, she, Luke, and Rusty sit on the curb outside, watching the sky deepen to indigo over the parking lot that used to feel like a battleground. "You know," Luke says, scratching Rusty's ears, "I joined SWAT because I thought justice always came with sirens and flashbangs." "And now?" Sara asks. He looks at her, tired lines around his eyes softening. "Now I think some of the bravest fights happen in fluorescent aisles and break rooms. With people who don't have body armor. Just name tags and rent due." She leans her head on his shoulder. Rusty sprawls across both their boots, content. "You saved me," she murmurs. He shakes his head. "You saved yourself. I just kicked open the right door." They sit in silence, listening to the quiet hum of a town adjusting to a new normal where powerful names are a little less untouchable, and ordinary workers stand a little taller. Somewhere a phone buzzes with another notification about the video that started it all. Now when people recognize Sara, they don't laugh. They thank her. "And you, what would you do if you saw someone being humiliated like Sara was right in front of you in a store aisle or at a counter?"